The Die4 Radio, Mad for the Mad for Report. We are back, you motherfuckers. Yeah, man, so I just played to do some tracks off the Scanners album. I played fucking 40 ounce of the Swinging album. You know what I'm saying? High C. You know what I mean? But this show is the special guest is Tony A. So all y'all listeners and followers, once this interview is done, I want you to go and follow him. And I want you to support what he's got going on because he got a lot of good things going on right now. It's good things for hip-hop and shit. So I want you to follow and support. You know, this show is about you motherfuckers that are young to follow and support. And all you old-ass heads who are fucking stuck not knowing what's out, slap yourselves, get with this shit. You know what I mean? Cut it out. You call yourself a true hip-hop head but don't know who the fuck Eiht is, don't know who Tony A is, don't even know who the fuck Code 187 is. Kill yourself. One time. And we got a lot of motherfuckers calling up right now, the switchboard lining up. Look, man, after the interview is done, I will get to you so you can probably holler at Tony A, and then he'll probably answer your questions, you know what I mean? So, hey, man, slow your roll, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers. But speaking of that, we got the special guest of the hour, you know what I'm saying, in the house, Tony A. Welcome to Die4 Radio, fam.
What up, my brother? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, you know, everything is all copacetic over here. I want to say thank you for making the time to come fuck with me on Die4 Radio. I appreciate that shit.
Most definitely, my brother, most definitely.
Yeah, man. See, I know about you, man. And one thing I love about you, man, is you know, you being a Mexican Chicano in this rap game. I want you to elaborate and let these motherfuckers who are young, because we do got a young fan base, we got them all over the globe. I want them to know who Tony A is and what made him get into the hip-hop game.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll start back when I was 11 years old, bro. My first job that I ever got was selling records at the swap meet called, for those of you who don't know what a swap meet is, it's a flea market, but it's an outdoor flea market in the city of Gardena. It was called the Vermont Swap Meet. That's where I met a Japanese man from the city of Whittier. His name was Steve Yano, who I'm basing a documentary on that I'm working on currently right now. So I was 11 years old when I first started collecting vinyl. I was 12 years old. I had just graduated 6th grade when I went into a nightclub. And to be quite honest with you, brother, I had no business being in a nightclub, but my brother, who was a DJ in a nightclub in the city of Long Beach, he invited me, and I went. I wore my 3-piece suit from Kmart, and I went. And from there, the rest is history, you know. But after that, man, you know what? I'll tell you what. I was selling records, and not only was I buying records from the stand that I was working for, but also buying records from the city of Long Beach, VIP Records, the owner being Calvin Anderson. And so I was selling records till I was about 13 years old. Business had died down. This man, Steve, moved to a different swap meet, so I couldn't go. I got reacquainted with him when I was about 19 years old. And the reason why I went looking for him was because in 1985, one of my homies was bumping a mixtape. And it said Dr. Dre, it said Steve Yano, and it said The Rhodium. So I was trying to make the connection. I was like, how does Steve know Dr. Dre? Dr. Dre, to me, was like a turntable god, you know. By this time, I was already DJing. I was mobile DJing. I was paying my dues, doing weddings, quinceañeras. I even DJed divorce parties, homie. You know, hall parties. You know, I was paying dues. You know, so I went to the swap meet, and when I got there, Steve recognized me. He hadn't seen me since I was 13. Now I was about 19. He sees me, and directly in back of him is actually Dr. Dre. Dre had just left Wrecking Crew and was just barely forming the first stages of NWA. Steve introduces me to Dr. Dre. Dre introduces me to his cousin Jinx, who was about 16 years old at the time, and he introduced me to Eric, Eazy-E. I didn't know who Eazy was at the time because they hadn't did anything yet. And I had the opportunity to cut it up right there at the swap meet. Steve always had 2 turntables. He was always DJ ready, you know. And Dre tapped me on the shoulder, said I did a good job, gave me his cousin's number, Sir Jinx, and we hooked up. In the movie Straight Outta Compton, for those of you that have seen it, obviously everybody has seen it, when Dre left his mom's house to go live with Jinx in South Central, that was around the time that I met them. And the very first vinyl that I ever did scratching on was for a song that featured a rapper named Dazzy D from South Central. The producer was Sir Jinx. The record label was Thin Line Records, and Thin Line Records was the first vinyl that ever came out of VIP, meaning that VIP owned that record label. So I have also VIP history, and I did scratching on that record. That we did that in 1987, so that was the first vinyl that I was ever on. From there, 1987, I began to take over the mixtapes for Steve Yano, meaning Dr. Dre had been doing them from 84 to 87. He passed the torch on to me. So now I began to do these mixtapes. Now these mixtapes became very, very famous now because they featured people like Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, MC Ren, Crazy D, Ice Cube, DJ Quik, Young MC, Tone Loc, JJ Fad, High C.
Wow.
It had all of these artists on there. So when I began to do them, the very first one that I did was when Supersonic by JJ Fad had just came out. That was the very first one. That was in 1987. I had JJ Fad rapping on it. My next one, I got High C to rap on it because after about a year or so, Dre told me that his camp wasn't going to be able to rap on his mixtapes anymore. They were about to go on tour. This was 1988. And that was the last one I did with them was 88 Boom and Bass. That one featured Eazy-E, that one featured Ice Cube, that one featured JJ Fad and Tone Loc. And when I say featured was that they busted freestyles. That's what they were doing. They were busting freestyles exclusively for Steve at the Rhodium. So I had gotten and earned a street buzz on the street first before I had ever started producing, a vinyl. And 1989, I did a tape called High C. I named it High C because I wanted to create a buzz for High C, whom I met at the Swamp Meet selling there as well. He was only 17 years old. He was still going to Centennial High School, and I had him rapping on my mixtapes. So one day we're at my house, and I'm mixing two oldies, I'm Your Puppet. Steve happens to walk in, and he hears what we're doing. He dug it so much because what people need to understand, even though Steve was Japanese, he grew up around a lot of Mexicans because he grew up in the city of Whittier. And he loved that old school oldie feel. So he said, let's do a song and let's put it on a mixtape. And I'll be honest with you, bro, I didn't know how to produce. So I said, well, how do I do that? He said, just put an instrumental bottom beat. He said, and then ride the oldie over it, have High C rap off of it and do some scratching. So we did it. And I remember he said a couple of months later, he said, if this would have been official SoundScan, this mixtape would have went gold. He said, because this mixtape really sold like wildfire. It spread like wildfire. So we did a follow-up to that mixtape, and it was called Scandalous. We did Sitting in the Park, and how that came about, because I had no idea how to do a beat. So I just turned the I'm Your Puppet record around the oldie, and they were Sitting in the Park. So I said, let's do this. High C wrote to it. I did the beat to it. Before you know it, a couple of months later, a guy named Stuart Cohen from Hollywood Records, which is Hollywood Records is owned by Disney. Disney opened up a record label called Hollywood Records. They came to the Swamp Meet looking for whoever did that mixtape. So they asked Steve, who did this mixtape? Steve pointed to me and said, him. I pointed back to Steve and I said, well, he sells them. I thought he was going to try to bust us for selling bootlegs, So they said, so they said, you know what, my name's Stuart. We just opened up a record label for Disney, and I want to sign you guys. This landed on my office, and I'm looking to sign the first rap group to Disney. So a couple of months later, we were signed, late '89, we were signed to Disney. We were the first rap group to ever be signed to Disney. And the rest is history,
Wow.
Here's the funny part, I remember Steve bought me a drum machine. That was the SP1200. And he gave it to me, and the manual was about the size of a phone book, man. And I told Steve, man, I ain't reading that shit. And I said, well, you need to learn how to produce. He said, you need to learn how to produce. And I said, I don't know how. I don't know how to use the drum machine. So he tells me, I'm going to take you to Dre, and he's going to show you. So we went over to Dre's apartment in the city of Paramount. And we walk in. He's got absolutely no furniture. So I said, where are we going to set it up? I set it up on the floor. So me and him got on the floor. I set up, the mixer, the turntable, the drum machine, and he showed me how to sample.
Wow, that is crazy. That's some history shit, and I'm glad that you're sharing this stuff because a lot of people don't know this. But I do also want to commend you because at that time you guys were. The first time I heard Scandalous is the first time I actually started hearing oldies, like real oldies being sampled over hip-hop beats. I mean, other than one that was doing that, maybe it was Kid Frost, but not at the level that you guys were doing it. So, would you say that's fair to say? Hello, you still there? Hello? Hello? Looks like we might have lost our guest. Well, in the meantime, we'll wait for him to call back in. We got some calls on line 714. You on Die4 Radio? Who is this?
This is Juliana Perdomo.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going okay. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm good. Everything's good over here. We're just waiting on Tony A. Something just happened. I think we lost his call. I'm about to see if we can get him back on the air. Did you have a question for him, or you're just tuning in?
I'm just tuning in.
Oh, that's what's up. Look, okay, stay in the line. If you do got something to say, we'll get to him. We got him back on the air. You know what I'm saying? Yo, hey, man, everything good, man? I thought I lost you there for a good minute. I was like, oh, shit.
No, I was able to hear you, bro. I was on the line.
Oh, okay, because then all of a sudden, it's probably this shit, this platform. I'm ready to make some plans and moving on. You know what I mean? Gotta expand. You know what I'm saying? But back to what I was saying though, is it fair to say that you guys were the ones first sampling the oldies the way you did in hip hop? Because I didn't hear that type of sound back then, and when I first heard Scandalous, it was you guys.
I'll be quite honest with you, bro. I grew up listening to all kinds of music, and growing up in a Mexican hood, that's all we bumped was oldies. So when it came to hip-hop beat, that was the first music that came to me. So whether anybody else was doing it, I don't know. But when I put it on mixtapes, that's when that spread like wildfire, and people kept telling me, hey, you were the first one, you were the first one. So if I was, you know what, cool, man. But if I wasn't, I give people their credit, brother.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it right here live. You guys were the first ones because I'm telling you, I'm 40 years old now. You know what I mean? I hit that 40, be hitting 41 soon. So I heard and seen a lot of trends in hip hop, a lot of music I bought, a lot of music I stolen, and you know what I mean. So you guys were the first ones to come at that sound and sample it and make dope music off of it. Because that's, like I said, that's when I first heard it. You know what I mean? So
thank you,
I'm saying
brother.
it right here.
Dope.
Now, as far as, because you now that you mentioned that you worked with Dre and did mixtapes, those mixtapes that you say you have with freestyles, now those motherfuckers have to be worth something or you know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't. You could go on YouTube and you won't hear nothing like that. So are those rare?
Well, let me say this. They are very, very rare. And I was just notified. I won't give the name yet because it hasn't been confirmed. But I was just notified that when the Universal Hip Hop Museum opens up, that they will be in a museum. There's over 80 of those tapes, bro. Over 80 of those. And I know I did it at least 30 of them. And all of them have features. Now, what makes these tapes so unique? Now, somebody may say, well, I did mixtapes in the past. Okay, somebody may say that, and fine, you probably did. But they didn't have artists like this. Can't nobody else say that on one mixtape you had Dr. Dre, you had Eazy-E, you had Ice Cube, you had J.J. Fad. Can't nobody else ever say that. And these were sold exclusive in the city of Gardena at the Rhodium Swap Meet. Now, to name a few artists like DJ Quik, Second to None, AMG, High C. Now, once again, what makes these tapes so rare is that every single one of these artists went on to go gold or platinum. Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about record sales. We're not talking about streams. You know, gold back then was 500,000. Platinum was 1 million. Today we lowered gold to 250,000 because records ain't selling. You know, so back then these mixtapes helped launch the careers of many of these people, because you have to understand that here in LA we had one radio station, and that's what made it so hard. We had one radio station that was K-Day, 1580 K-Day.
Yes.
And that was a 24-hour hip-hop station that predominantly played all East Coast music. West Coast artists really weren't getting that much love. I think the only guy that was probably getting played at the time was probably Ice-T here in the West Coast. And so what they did, people heard of these mixtapes, so they would have come to the Swap Meet and asked the owner, Steve, of the stand, can you put my record on a mixtape? And how that worked was this. He said, okay, if I like your record, I'll buy it and sell it on consignment. And if it sells good, I'll put it on a mixtape. If people are feeling it, I'll have you come back and rap on a mixtape to your instrumental. And that's how that worked. And people kept coming back, man. People kept coming back. Let me share with you guys a quick story. I remember being at the stand on a Sunday, and here comes this one dude, and he has one record, and he gives it to Steve. And Steve grabs it, and he says, cool, I'll listen to it. I'll get back to you. And the guy says, cool. Steve gives it to me. He says, go home and listen to it, Tony. I'll talk to you tomorrow, because he was going to come over the next day and do a mixtape with me. So I go home and listen to it on a Sunday. I put the needle on, and from the very first word, I loved it. I called him back that night, and I said, Steve, tomorrow we need to have that guy come over and tell him to bust a freestyle over this mixtape. And he said, you like it that much? And I said, yes. Well, that song went on to sell millions, okay? And I'll tell you what that song was. It was Bust a Move by Young MC, bro.
Shit. Wow.
Okay.
That is crazy shit.
Yes, bro. And these are stories that I'll be honest with you, bro, I've held on to them for years, and never told anybody. I stepped away from the business for about 15 years, and one day I sat down with my son, who's now 27, and he told me, Dad, can you tell me a little bit about the music? And I sat down with him, and I shared with him all these stories, and he is the one that encouraged me, okay, Dad, you need to get back on social media and let the world know. And so here I am, bro. So.
And big up to your son for that. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what I love. This is what I love about doing this platform that I do. I don't get paid $1 to do the show. I lose money doing the show just to keep it on and just do it. You know, all the graphics and all that. But I do it because I love hip hop so much, and I love hearing these stories from people that done it before my time. So big up to your son, because these are stories that I love to hear on his show, man. So big up to your kid, man. He knows what he's talking about.
Definitely, bro. Yes. He's listening. So he's listening, brother.
Yes. Now, I want to talk about the Scanners album, because that album, wow. And you know, you're talking about 1991 with a lot of albums debuted that year that were great. You had Cypress Hill, you had DJ Quik, Quik is his name. You had Naughty by Nature. The Ghetto Boys came with their big hit. NWA Niggas for Life, Death Certificate, Second to None, AMG, Bitch Better Have My Money. I mean, you get the High C Scanners album. I mean, tell you, that year was so instrumental to me as far as the new wave of music, and that was a great masterpiece that you guys put together. What were your feelings when you guys released that shit? Because I'm telling you, I was in middle school when it came out, and a lot of motherfuckers had it in the Walkmans. You know, if people don't know what a Walkman is, you need to Google it. You know what I mean? We had them in a Walkman. You know what I mean? So how was that feeling like?
Well, look, most people will probably try to sit here and lie and say, you know what, well, you know, man, I just kind of hooked up some beats. I had some beats laying around. I knew what to. I'm gonna be straight up, bro. I was a little nervous because once again, I wasn't a producer. I was a DJ doing mixtapes. So when I got signed, I learned how to use a drum machine by Dr. Dre himself. Second, I remember going over to Quik's house. I had no percussion sounds. And I asked him, hey, man, you know, can I get some percussion sounds? And I shared this story before that Quik picked up his whole library. He had his whole library of floppy disks in a box. And he gave them to me. And he said, Tony, take whatever you want and bring them back. I still have those floppy disks. So think about this, man. I had, at least to me, the greatest hip-hop producer ever, Dr. Dre, teach me how to sample. And I've had, to me, at least the second or right up there with Dr. Dre, DJ Quik gave me all his sounds. And from there, that's how I started piecing this album together. If you listen to a song like Punk Shit, I'm Not Your Puppet, Sitting in the Park, Too Scandalous, they all have cutting and scratching. All of that shit is Rhodium mixtape. That's where I learned it from. It started from there, and it evolved into a record. It was actually a little bit different because High C had a lot more cussing in it. We had more songs, but Disney was not in favor of that. Actually, Disney made us go back in there and redo half of that album over again. So a lot of people never really got to hear what we were giving the public because it was actually really dirty and it was actually really hood. That Michael Eisner, a multi-millionaire, called us into the office and told us, you guys are going to have to redo this record again. And we told him, no, we're not. That's just the way it is. And the guy told us, I got $80,000, says that you will. So we took the money and we got about half of that album. So, yeah, and we got any trip in the world we wanted to go. So 80 G's and any trip in the world we wanted to go for 10 days to redo half of that record. So what people heard today is not really what we wanted to release, bro.
Wow. I can just imagine if you guys put it where you wanted to put it because you guys were already stamping your flavor on that shit, so I can just imagine. Bro. Jesus, man, fucking labels, man.
But I'll tell you what, though, man.
You know,
my feelings, when it was released, though, we had a really, really good feeling about it, man. And we immediately hopped on a tour. We were on an EPMD tour, man. And I got to meet, everybody, Guru, EPMD, DAWS Effects, everybody, man. We went everywhere. By the time I was 23 years old, I had already traveled all over the U.S., DJing at the hottest clubs and stadiums everywhere, man. So let me tell you something. It was a blessing for me, man. It was a blessing.
Yeah, and you're talking about the time when it's the golden era. You know what I mean? The golden era. So, wow.
Yes.
And that's dope as fuck. You know what I mean? And like I said, once I go back again, you being a Chicano when being Mexican, it's hard for us to get a little bit of light in this game, especially today, you know what I mean? So there's had to be somebody. I got it was you, brother, because like you say, you've been in this game being a mixtape underground king that you are and stuff like that, man. Everybody, I'm glad it was you, bro. And
thank
hopefully
you, man.
with this project you got going on, and let these motherfuckers know what you got working on right now, because like you say, you got a documentary coming on. Spread a little bit more light on this so these people can know.
Yes. Well, I started this documentary a year ago. We're about, I would say, 95% done editing. And the reason why I took it upon myself to do this documentary was because this man, Steve, whom I knew since I've been 11 years old, and I'm 50 now. I've been knowing him that long. He passed away 4 years ago from a freak accident. He fell off of a ladder, and he died. And a year ago, what happened was I went to a Q&A session out here in L.A., and there was all these OGs there from the West Coast that were sharing how they were contributed to West Coast hip hop. Now, the reason why I was a little bit upset was because every single one of those people on that panel knew Steve Yano, and how they knew him was because they used to go to the record stand and give their records to him so that he can sell them or distribute them. But not one of them said Steve's name. Not one of them paid homage to him. In other words, saying that he was also a cornerstone to West Coast hip hop. So after the Q&A, I walked up to them and I reminded them of Steve. And I said, from this point on, I'm going to put together a documentary, and I need you guys to pay homage to him and to share how much of an instrument he was to West Coast hip hop. So they did. I interviewed 20 people, that were very instrumental in not only in telling the story, but also in West Coast hip hop. And so I'm putting together this documentary. It's called the Rhodium Mixtape Documentary. How these mixtapes, who were sold by Steve, were very influential and very, instrumental in launching the careers of many of these artists that didn't even have record deals at the time. But many of them were helped because record labels heard of these guys rapping on these mixtapes, and they picked them up because they had already created a street buzz. This documentary is just not a documentary that's going to go to YouTube. Okay, Netflix is going to pick it up. So I don't have a release date because Netflix has not given us one yet. But it's a 3-hour documentary, so you'll be able to watch 1 hour every other night, or if you want to watch it, the whole night. But it's going to be very, very instrumental in educating people all over the world that this Japanese man, whom a lot of people don't know, introduced Dr. Dre to Eazy-E. The movie didn't show that, and the documentary,
right,
The Fine Ones, didn't show that. But he introduced Eazy-E to Dr. Dre, and he was the first one to put these guys on mixtapes. And I share all of that on this documentary, so people will be educated. See, today when we listen or when we hear West Coast hip-hop documentaries, here's what we hear. We hear NWA and Death Row, and that's all. But this is before that.
Exactly.
This is before that.
That's a damn shame.
So, yes. So now people are going to see where these people started with the Rhodium Swamp Meat mixtape. So the name of the documentary is going to be the Rhodium, the Rhodium Mixtape Documentary. The Rhodium Mixtape Documentary and it's based on Steve selling these mixtapes out of the city of Gardena to help launch the careers of these artists. So be looking out for that, you guys. And believe me, you will be educated on not only what a mixtape is, but on the beginning stages of these rappers' careers.
Oh, man. And you know what? We're going to be definitely going to be looking out for that, man. That is dope. That is dope as fuck. Now, I want to talk about the PPC, Penthouse Players Click, DJ Quik, everybody that was involved in that, plus the group that signed the Ruthless Records. At that time, there was a static with Compton's Most Wanted. What did you see from that? I'm not here to, bring up no old wounds and shit, you know what I mean? But as far as I go, what did you see from that point, without getting too much into detail?
Well, what a lot of people don't know is this, okay, is that they made a demo, and that's what it was, a demo. And they did it in the city of Inglewood and at a guy's house named Greedy Greg. And the reason why I mention him is he's also in my documentary, okay? And they did a song called Real Dope. That's what the song was called. And what a lot of people don't know, that song appeared on my mixtape. Okay? So that helped spread the diss of CMW and MC8. Okay? And the mixtape was called Bullshit. And I played the full-length song on there, which eventually will be released on my website for download. My mixtape will be released. Now, when I first heard that, first of all, I thought it was dope. I'll be honest with you, because remember, Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, had dissed Romeo. They did a song called Cracker Jack. If a lot of people don't know, it was a guy named Romeo back in the day that had dissed Eazy-E, and Dre and them, Dre and Eazy had dissed Romeo. So there was a lot of dissing going on. So Quik, according to MC8, had thought that he was being dissed by MC8. So Quik took it upon himself to diss him back. MC8 being a Crip, you know, and Quik being a Blood, and that's what started this whole beef. That's what started this whole beef. But let me say something. The reason why I'm glad that you brought that up is because when I finished this documentary, the Roadie Mixtape documentary, I have just been given an okay by Goody Gray to start a documentary, the house where all this took place. Okay? Now, out of this house, the Domino's album was produced. Above the Law recorded there. Quik's albums were produced there. AMG's albums were produced there. Second to None's albums were produced there. Puffy even visited this house. The Fixers album was produced there. So much history came out of that one house. And I've been given the okay as of right now that in this next documentary to interview Quik and MC8 sitting side by side talking about this mixtape.
Wow.
So that's what I got coming next.
That is dope.
We're going to talk about, yeah. I mean, because when have you ever seen them two together side by side talking about how this beef started?
Right. Yeah, you always see them talking to other people about it, like on Brad and stuff separately and shit. But yes, I do definitely. What did you see them side by side talking about the beef, like seriously detail to detail? That is crazy.
Yes. And in the background, I'll be playing the song "Real Dope," you know, that Quik did. And what a lot of people don't know, it was a demo. You know, they were shopping their stuff, but for some reason, legend has it that it was the red tape, all because the cassette they did it on happened to be red. You know, so from there, legends grew that, oh, you know, it was the red tape, it was the Blood tape, and Quik this and this, Quik this and that. But, you know, cool, whatever. You know, that's what the streets came with it, you know, talked about it and made it more than what it was. But, you know, for those of you that have my mixtape, it's called Bullshit, and the song's called Real Dope. It's on there. Check it out.
Yeah, and if you got those copies of this shit, you better hold on to them because I guarantee you those have some type of value now. You know, especially when it comes to hip-hop nerds like myself who like to collect stuff like that. So hold on to that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're calling in and you got any questions for Tony A, you got to press 1. If you don't press 1, I can't. I'm assuming you guys listen to the show because I only got one more question for the brother because I don't want to hold up all this time. You know what I mean? So we're going to 714-884. You on Die4 Radio with Tony A. You got any questions for my brother?
Yes. Hi, Tony A. This is Juliana Perdomo. I was just at the OC block party this weekend, and I love hip hop. I love DJ Quik, Sugar Free, RBL Posse. I love all the old school music. I've been raised in Orange County, and I'm thinking, who's going to be the next, Evelyn Champagne? Who's going to be the next DJ Quik? Who is going to be, when is West Coast going to come back? And if so, when will there be an opportunity maybe for the new generation to put that out there?
You know what? That's a really good question, and I'll be quite honest with you. I'm glad you asked that because I often wonder that myself with the way music has gone today. I truly believe that there's somebody upstairs in this music industry that doesn't really care to look for talent anymore. In my opinion, and today you look at somebody with a weird haircut, with their face tattooed, a guy popping pills, dressing weird, and it seems like those are the guys that are making it today. When real talent is still out there. I often tell people today, you don't need skills to pay the bills anymore. I listen to so much talent today, demo tapes that people still give me. And it's sad to say, I tell them, look, it's almost like if you're not one of those guys like a Little Pump or a Tekashi or that Cash Me Outside girl, these record labels are not going to recognize you. You know, it's almost like they don't really care who has talent. It's who's popular. How many streams do you have? How many views do you have? How many likes do you have? How many followers? Music has changed, and it's gotten really, really ugly. You know, the sad thing is that 2 weeks ago I did a show with Sugar Free, DJ Quik, Second to None, AMG, High C. We did it in Arizona. We had such a great turnout that people ask us the same thing all the time. Why aren't you guys doing this whole tour? And I'll be honest with you, and it's because a lot of these promoters don't want that anymore. They want the Tigers, you know, they want this new generation. And you know what? We can't, if you will, we can't argue with that. I understand that that's where the money's at. But if we're not being hired, you know, it's going to be hard for the next generation of talent to come in. You know, so I'm kind of speechless when it comes to that because I'm really disgusted with this new generation of music, which I don't really consider music. So
yeah, I am too. I hate this music nowadays. And let's say I know somebody who might want to be like the next West Coast person or Evelyn Champagne. How would we get into contact with you, or how would we be able to let you listen to us, or maybe give us a shot?
Well, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and you can contact me there. You can, you know, inbox me, and then we can just go from there. On Facebook, I'm on. My name is Tony Alvarez or Tony A the Wizard, or on Instagram, it's just Tony A the Wizard. I spelled out with D-A. Or and if you find me on Instagram, you can find me on all the other platforms there. But I'm on Instagram, Facebook, I'm on YouTube. YouTube is Tony Vision, or you can go to my website, theRoadingMixtapeDocumentary.com. But if you find me on one of them, you'll find me on all of them. But yeah, that's right. How we can do that, and I can introduce you. I can listen to it and also introduce you to the right people.
All right. Yeah, because to be honest with you, Tony, I don't know if this is a little too much to be saying, but when I went to the OC block party, I met people. I met Tony Montana. He took a professional picture of me, and my dream has always been to sing. And like I have liked old school music. I like funk. I like oldies. That was my main thing. That's what I grew up around. Dr. Roger, everything, and that's when I think maybe I want to take my shot. And if that's the case, then I will contact you very soon.
But most definitely, you do that. You do that.
Then, Tony,
and that's what's up. And that's what's up. Who am I talking to again? And how do you know about Die4 Radio real fast? You know, we got to know this stuff for survey reasons.
Okay, so my name is Juliana. I'm from Santa Ana, and I am 16 years old. And I found out about you through Tony Montana's Instagram. I kind of lurked, and I want to get myself out there too. So, and maybe I can be. I don't know.
What's
I don't
up?
know. I just want to change. I want to change
What's
music.
Up? Well, keep tuning in to us, and if you like I said, you got hot music, you can send it to us. Mad4 at die4productions.com. I also will take a look at it because I'm about to start a show where I'm breaking the new, the new shit, the new younger artists. While I have a show just dedicated for that, so they want to throw their music in. So you could do that. So you can follow me on my Instagram as MADDPHOUR. There's only one Mad4. Everyone else is frauds. We know that. But good looking out, man. Hoping to hear from you. We got one more caller, 909-751. This last call taken for Tony A. You're on Die4 Radio. Who is this?
Oh, it's Alex from San Bernardino. I was calling in for Tony A. I have a two-part question.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, Tony, you being from the Harbor area, have you ever collaborated or worked with Spanish Fly, with S.A. Daz, Rich Rock, Tricks?
Actually, Daz was a really good friend of mine. I did some scratching on one of his records last year, if I'm correct. It's just that Daz actually moved more to the city of Chino, so it's hard for me to keep in contact with him. But we do talk on the phone at least maybe once every 2 weeks or so. But yeah, you know what? He is from the city of Carson, and we have worked, but he also works with a lot of artists. But me doing a lot of filming now, 80% of what I do now is a lot of filming. It's kind of hard to get back into the music thing when filming is like my newfound love, bro.
All right, for my second question is, back in the day when you and High C's music came out, there was a lot of comparisons with you and a lighter shade of brown and the samples and so forth. Do you have anything to say, reiterate about that?
Well, first I wanted to say, rest in peace, Bobby. I knew Bobby and Robert really well. When we were working on our album, you got to understand that we were doing songs on mixtapes, and I had never heard of Lighter Shade of Brown in the late 80s. When my album dropped, our very first show that we did was in Mesa, Arizona, and it was with Lighter Shade of Brown, and that's when I heard of them. That was in 1991 when I first met them. But you know what? They had dope music, and you know what, man? They were really hot at that time, man. It's just sad to what happened to Bobby, man, and I wish that dude was still around, bro, because I got along with both of them, and those guys were hot back then, man. They were really hot.
All right, that's about it for my questions there.
All good, brother.
All
Thank
right.
you, man.
What do you know about Die4 Radio, and let them know who you are once again, man, where they can follow you on social media, because I appreciate the callers calling in, you know what I mean, and them fucking with the show.
Yeah, most definitely. And for the caller who called first, I know you said you found me on Tony Montana. Me and Tony Montana follow each other on Instagram. Once again, my name is Tony A. the Wizard. That's how you can find me on Instagram, Tony A. the Wizard. You spell Del with D-A. Or you can find me on Facebook, Tony Alvarez / Tony A. the Wizard. If you find me on Instagram, look at my bio. From there, it'll take you to my website, and it'll take you to all my platforms. So once again, find me on Instagram, and that's where you'll find me. Be looking out for the Rhodium Mixtape documentary, because I'll tell you, not only would it educate the youth, on West Coast hip-hop, but also help inform us old school heads who may not know the full story of a lot of the NWA and DJ Quik background. So, once again, brother, thank you for having me. Man. It's been a pleasure, brother. But I got time if you want to take another call.
Yeah, hopefully we can get you back on another day, another month, it's maybe 2 months, 3 months. Man, because I want to, because these are good stories, man, and hopefully we can get you back on again for anything you do. The doors are always open here for you at Die4 Radio. I don't give a fuck if you're doing a commercial for motherfucking Cat Chow. I don't give a fuck if you're representing a Chinese restaurant. You let us know, man. We'll put the commercials in. Anything you got cooking, brother, the doors are open here for you anytime on Die4 Radio.
Most definitely. I'll tell you what, when my documentary drops, that's when we'll do another show, brother.
Yes, hey, let's do it. Before you go, can I get a Die4 Radio drop from you, man? Because I do these things and I keep these motherfuckers going in the show. So I need one from the infamous DJ Tony A. You know what I mean?
What do you want me to say, my brother? Whatever you want me to say, I'll say it.
Just Die4 Radio, Mad 4, anything else with that, brother. So it's all on you.
You're listening to Dial Radio, Mad 4. Keeping it hot on the radio. Make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys listen in for the real shit. Tony A. the Wizard, the place to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, hey, man, thank you again, brother. Have a good night. Stay blessed, man. And keep doing what you're doing, brother. And you know what, man? For being 50, man, you're looking good, brother. You're looking good, man. You got the cannons and shit. Hey, man. I think it's back to turn 40 and shit. When I'm back in L.A., it would be like, I'm with Tony A. That's my security guard. Don't fuck with me, you know what I mean? Hey, keep it up, brother, man. Stay blessed, brother. You know what I mean? Much love, man. And like I said, we'll definitely when the documentary come out, man, we're gonna be spilling that shit every day on this show like it's motherfucking water flowing from the mountains, man. All day.
Most definitely, bro. Thank you, brother.
You have a good night then, brother. Peace.
You too. Later.